Guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down Iowa and Indiana. It's a 3.5 point spread in favor of the Hawkeyes. Over-under is 46.5. This one will be on the Big Ten Network at 3:30 Eastern Time, and the Hoosiers will be traveling to Kinnick Stadium. So getting things started, we're going to look at the Indiana offense. Michael Penix, he's a game changer. This offense was tough to defend when he was healthy and under center. But then when he tore his ACL, it was a lackluster unit at best. IU failed to top over 370 yards. Total yards, that is, with Jack Tuttle at quarterback. He couldn't, he wasn't as effective. His playmakers only averaged 5 yards, and he himself only averaged 5 yards per attempt, so he couldn't get it to the guys. But Penix could. He's expected to be back at full health following a very impressive season. It was headlined by that 491-yard, 5-touchdown performance against Ohio State. Penix, he finished the year with 1,600 yards with an average of 274 a game, 14-4 touchdown interception ratio. He flat out carried this offense. They heavily struggled to run the ball. Indiana averaged only 108.6 yards per game, 3.1 yards per carry. The ground game got going a little bit versus Maryland. That was the same game Penix tore his ACL. And they had some moments in the bowl game versus one of the worst defenses in college football in Ole Miss. But they need to get more from its offensive line. Stephen Carr, he transfers over from USC, a former 5-star. He hasn't lived up to the expectations, although a change of scenery here could benefit the slippery back, as he can make plays in the open field. Their best offensive lineman is Matthew Bedford. He's impressive against the run. He's a big liability in pass protection, though, as was the rest of the unit. This offensive line is not very good whatsoever, and that's going to be a big key in this game against the tough Hawkeyes front. Looking at the weapons for Indiana, though, Ty Fraufogel, he's one of the top pass catchers in all of college football. Purely dominant with his physicality and his abilities to go up and make a grab. He doesn't wow you with separation skills, but his ability to go up and get it, that's what makes him stand out from the rest. He caught 37 balls for 720 yards and 7 scores last season. A bulk of that came across a 3-game stretch where he had a yardage totals of 142, 202, 18. That was before Penix got hurt. And then afterwards, he only had caught 5 balls for 79 yards over the final 3 games. So he's glad to have Penix back under center. The Hoosiers are really deep at receiver, though. They also get back 6'4" Miles Marshall. He can also come down with some jump balls of his own. The versatile David Ellis should also make an impact. DJ Matthews and Cam Buckley, they added those guys this offseason from premier Power 5 schools, the latter in Buckley. He's been a modest producer during his career with the Aggies. DJ Matthews, he's a former high-end 4-star recruit of his own, proven he can contribute on special teams and has the skills and talent to be a reliable pass catcher as well. And then lastly, tight end Peyton Hendershot. He didn't have great production a season ago, but in 2019, he was a star for this team. He had over 50 receptions, 6'3", 250. He's a big body. Peyton Hendershot, if he can get his production back to normal, this offense is going to thrive. Certainly, they're really good last year, and he only, I think, caught 13 passes on the season. So they're certainly going to be happy if he can get back to his form. Looking at the Iowa offense, I'm not really exactly sure where to set the bar for this offense in 2021. They're kind of weak at the skill positions, and the ceiling isn't very high for quarterback Spencer Petras. Petras did look good, though, whenever Iowa had balance offensively, but he threw 50-plus pass attempts in game, and he did that in 2 games versus Northwestern. He ended up with 3 of 5 interceptions on the season in 2 games where he threw for 50-plus attempts. Petras was mainly a game manager, though, over the course of the Hawkeye 6-game winning streak. Struggled with accuracy, though, completed only 57% of his passes in 2020. Averaged over 196 yards per game through the year. He really fits the mold of what I was trying to do on offense, and with improved production on the ground, his ability as a play-action passer will allow him to thrive in year 2. Iowa loses Mekhi Sargent, but they returned Tyler Goodson at running back. He led the Hawkeyes in rushing last fall, 762 yards, 7 scores, averaged over 5.3 yards per carry. An elusive back, he averaged over 95 yards per game. Tyler Goodson, he should emerge as one of the top backs in all of college football this season. Tight end Sam Laporta, he's the only really proven commodity at pass catcher. He continues the trend of great tight ends that play for the Hawkeyes. Reliable option on third downs. Averages just over 10 yards per catch. He does a lot of work in the trenches as well. And then wide receiver Tyrone Tracy, he's a guy I really like. Despite not doing much of anything last season, he was impressive in 2019 as a freshman. He caught 36 balls for almost 600 yards. Tracy's going to step into the number 1 receiving role this season. He's going to be laying on heavily. This offense, as noted, lacks proven commodities at receiver. The best part of this offense, though, the offensive line, it's going to be strong this season. It's a little small, but they have a lot of talent, and they got guys who are aggressive. They're going to do the heavy lifting for sure. Center Tyler Linderbaum, it starts with him. He's unquestionably the nation's top offensive lineman. He was a finalist for the nation's top center award last year. And when you ever have a player like that who comes back for another season, that's how you know you have a real gem. His athleticism is great for the position, ultra lofty. He's just incredible in space. Just watch this guy play. It's insane how he moves for being that size. Right guard Tyler Schott, he made some big strides as a pass blocker himself last season. They also get back tackles Jack Lim and Cody Anise. They're veterans. They're gonna keep getting better for a team that's physical. It's usually very physical up front, very stiff. This offensive line is highly impressive. At the Indiana defense, these guys are pretty good last year. They've always had some good talent, but they started to finally put it together last year. Allowed only 20.3 points per game of contest. The concern for this unit is much like the offense, though, the trenches. The Hoosiers got bullied up front last year, mainly against the heavyweights. It was evident when they played PSU and Ohio State. Gave up a combined 557 yards and 5 scores in just those 2 games alone. The Hoosiers added a few transfers, though, up front. Ryder Anderson, Weston Kramer, Jaron Hardy. He's a former top 100 recruit from Auburn. So they added some beef up front to go along with DeMarcus Elliott. But all better, they need to be better, at creating inside penetration, all-around playmaking from this defensive line. You move the linebacker, Micah McFadden. He's among the nation's best at his position. He does a lot of things very well. He's a great blitzer, but even better playmaker. 58 tackles, 10.5 tackles for a loss. He had 6 sacks last year, all of which led the team. He also snagged 2 interceptions. McFadden's play is ultra valuable for this defense. They need him to play well, and when he does, this defense usually plays pretty well altogether. Next to him, you have senior Cam Jones. He's been a good player for the Hoosiers. Marcelino McCray Ball. He's been a versatile veteran for this unit over many years for the Hoosiers. Another very important player for Indiana. You look at the secondary. Despite the loss of Jamar Johnson, the Hoosiers will be fielding one of the top corners in all of college football, Tejuan Mullen. Yes, the brother of Trevon, the Raiders corner. He's a star of his own, though. Stands out in coverage. Impressive against the run. He's only allowed over 40 yards in a game once in his career. He also possesses great ball skills, 17 pass breakups, 3 picks over the past 2 seasons. He's not the only one, though, opposite side of Mullen. A guy I really like, Reese Taylor. He's steadily gotten better since he arrived in Bloomington. Made 8 plays on the ball this season to go. He's one of the best in the conference as a zone defender. He's a little undersized, but he's aggressive. Another one of those aggressive guys who makes plays. Rounding out the secondary, though, safety Devon Matthews, immensely talented, along with being a trusted commodity in the back end. Really like what the Hoosiers have in the secondary. The loss of defensive coordinator Kane Womack, it hurts a bit, but this defense it's still going to implement the same scheme, so shouldn't see too much short-term fall-off. Looking at the Iowa defense, I really like the Hawkeyes defense. They get back 76% of its production from a season ago. They possess a great, underrated secondary. We'll get to them in a minute, starting up front. 2 key contributors on its defense are gone from the defensive front from a season ago for Iowa. They get back a big-time breakout candidate, though. Defensive end Zach Van Volkenberg. He's big, lengthy, impressive pass rusher, 6'4", 270. He had 8.5 tackles for loss a season ago, and with more consistency and stats, he should produce at a pretty high rate in 2021. I think you'll see him fight for a spot on the all-conference team. Van Volkenberg, though, he can't be leaning on the supply all the pass rush, though, meaning players like Joe Evans, Jack Wagner will have to step up. It'll be interesting to see who can make some names and make some plays in this game and insert themselves as the next great Iowa Hawkeye up front. Iowa's linebacking core, though, it's an impressive one. They get back Seth Benson. He was second on the team in tackles with 47 last year, while Jack Campbell is a player many anticipate to mold into a star this season. Campbell only played in the final 5 games last year, but he looked good in those contests. He did a little bit of everything. He possesses impressive figure at 6'5", 2'8", 250, that is. He made impacts off the ball and coverage as well. He, plowing through as a blitzer, just a straight-up nasty tackler. He had 29 stops in his limited appearance. He can do a lot of things really well. Of course, there's a small sample size, but it was a very strong indication of what his sky-high ceiling is. Now we get to the real juicy stuff. It's this highly electric secondary. Safety Jack Corner. He's a guy I really like to continue to build off a respectable season. I saw him make big plays in coverage and in space as a tackler. He had 3 interceptions and didn't allow a single explosive play against him. A senior tandem makes up the outside corners. Matt Hankins. He's been very reliable in his years at Iowa. Never been too great, never been too bad. Well, Riley Moss. He's great in zone coverage. It was rare when Iowa gave up big plays downfield. I think this is the real big X factor in this game. It's really what's going to separate them, I think, from Indiana. They ranked 23rd in 20-plus yard pass plays allowed last year and second in 30-plus yard plays allowed. They don't give up anything downfield in the secondary. These guys can ball. And that's kind of Indiana's bread and butter is, making plays downfield with their passing attack. So that's going to be, a big separating factor in this game. And I think ultimately it's probably going to be what propels them to a victory. Looking at who's got the edge, starting at quarterback, Michael Penix certainly Gives Indiana the advantage at quarterback. Big arm. He can stand in there and take a pocket. A very tough guy. He can put it on his pass catchers. So they easily have the edge. As Spencer Petras has really just been a game manager so far in his career. And again, as noted, he's been considerably inaccurate as well. Look at the running backs. Tyler Goodson gives Iowa the advantage there. They have some pretty good depth, too. You're going to have to fight to see who becomes that number 2 running back. But I like the running backs at Iowa. They're usually reload at this position. And at Indiana, they haven't been very efficient. Last year, Stevie Scott did what he could with hard running, but other than that, these guys were not very great running the ball. And outside of him, no one's really stood out either. You look at the pass catchers, as I noted earlier, very deep receiving core for the Hoosiers, while Iowa, on the other hand, they only have about 2 proven commodities, and one of them is a tight end who's going to be leaned on in the trenches. So they don't have a lot of weapons they can lean on in the receiving group. Indiana, though, Freifrogel, Ellis, Marshall, the 2 transfers from the Power 5 schools in Buckley and Matthews. I really like this receiving core from Indiana. Look at the offensive line. And, when you look at the team comparisons, though, these guys are separated from each other pretty big at every position, and the offensive line's another one. Iowa has the big advantage. They have the nation's top center in Tyler Linderbaum, veteran tackles. Well, Indiana, they have really struggled with protection, run blocking. They're just not very good whatsoever. They're going to have to be much better in the trenches if they want to win the conference this year. You look at the pass rush. Again, Indiana's biggest weaknesses are in the trenches. And Iowa, Van Valkenburg. This isn't nearly as big of an edge as the other positions have, but I like Van Valkenburg. I think some guys are going to step up as well in the pass rush for Iowa, as they always do. They typically always reload in their defense, especially on the front 7. So they're going to be just fine at pass rush, but I do think they have the edge in this game. At linebacker, this one's actually pretty close as well. Both teams have really good linebackers, but having a player like Michael McFadden, a complete game changer, does everything. Jack Campbell has that same potential, but so far Michael McFadden has already proven he has that's who he is as a player. So that gives the edge to Indiana. And again, Iowa, the secondary, these guys don't allow big plays whatsoever. Another very close thing is having T1 Mullen really helps. Devon Matthews as well, Reese Taylor. I really like the Indiana secondary, but Iowa, they allow much fewer big plays downfield. So that gives them a slight advantage, but it's really pretty even. And then you look at special teams, Iowa. I think they have an edge there as well. Look at my final thoughts on this game. I really like Indiana. This is a really good team. I have them power ranked at number 10 coming into the year. But this is just a big disadvantage for them. They have to travel to Kinnick to open up the year. They're very weak on the interior. And again, they're playing a secondary that doesn't allow much. That's kind of Indiana's bread and butter offensively, is to make plays downfield with their passing attack. I think they're going to struggle. I don't think they're going to be absolutely dumbfounded on offense, but I think it's going to be hard to execute plays downfield. I don't expect them to run the ball very efficiently either. So I think their offense, they're just going to kind of be stonewalled to open up the year. I could be wrong, and I'd like to be wrong because I like this Indiana team, and it'd be fascinating to see them overcome this big of a challenge. It's just going to be too tall of a task, though, to try and conquer Iowa at Kinnick to open up the season. I do think Iowa and Goodson, they're going to be pretty solid on the ground. I think they're just going to have a very I think they're going to be more efficient offensively. I don't know how effective they'll be. I don't expect them to have a wowing performance either. I think this is going to be a slugfest, just kind of like Penn State and Wisconsin. I do have Indiana, though, winning 24-14 at home. A really good game. Can't wait to see what happens in this one because it's really going to set the tone for the rest of the year. And it's going to show you what these teams have worked on. There's a few things I'm interested in seeing, like the Indiana, how they perform in the trenches. A lot of things that you just got to sit and learn. So you can make the predictions all you want, but ultimately this week 1 is just to sit and watch and see what happens. It's going to set the tone for the rest of 2021. So that's the prediction, 24-14 Iowa. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.